Imagine you have to resolve a $300 disputed medical bill with a massive corporate insurer.
Right.
And then at the exact same time, you are tasked with negotiating a ceasefire in a geopolitical war.
Okay. Quite the Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. On the surface, I mean, these two scenarios belong on completely different planets.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look closely at the architecture of how we actually solve them, you will find the exact same playbook.
You really do.
To solve either of them, you have to, drag reluctant parties to the table, enforce merciless timelines, and completely change exactly who holds the microphone.
Yeah.
So we have a specific mission for this deep dive today. We are looking directly at the architecture of conflict resolution in the year 2026.
And we're doing this by cross-referencing two entirely different stacks of sources.
Right.
The first is a highly technical policy report. It analyzes the May 28, 2026 final rule overhaul of the U.S. No Surprises Act independent dispute resolution process.
Which is a mouthful, so we'll just call it the NSA IDR.
Exactly, NSA IDR. And the second source is an executive summary, along with an academic review of the June 1st, 2026 UN General Assembly debate.
Right, the one focused on strengthening global peace mediation.
Yes.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the architecture of a medical billing dispute.
Okay.
So the whole premise of the No Surprises Act, the NSA, was meant to be a shield for you, the patient.
Right, to take you out of the crossfire.
Exactly. It was designed to pull the patient out of the middle of those out-of-network billing nightmares. Instead of you getting crushed by a surprise bill, the law forces the health plan and the medical provider to hash it out in a formal arbitration process.
And in theory, I mean, it is a brilliant mechanism.
Right.
In theory. But the execution, at least prior to these 2026 reforms, was fundamentally broken.
Yeah,
The system was just bogged down by endless delays, ignored communications, and incredibly high barriers to entry. So the policy report we're looking at outlines a series of bureaucratic overhauls intended to fix the mechanics of this arbitration.
And the most immediate structural change, which is wild, is a massive drop in the administrative fee to participate.
Yes. Effective June 11, 2026, it went from $115 down to a flat $15 per party.
Wow. Which, I mean, that fee drop changes the entire power dynamic of the dispute.
Oh, absolutely.
When the system costs $115 just to enter, it was essentially a war of attrition. It's like, think of it like a messy, toxic group chat.
Okay.
Where one person just leaves the other on read indefinitely to avoid paying up.
Right, right.
And the old fee is like a massive cover charge at a club. If you are a small, independent medical practice arguing over a $300 claim, paying a non-refundable $115 fee just to start the argument makes zero financial sense.
You just eat the loss.
Exactly, you eat the loss. So dropping that fee to $15 is like the club dropping the cover charge so everyone can finally get through the door. It removes the financial barrier.
It does. And that fee reduction was paired with a major expansion of the batching rules.
Oh, right, the batching.
Yeah. So previously, a medical provider could only group 25 line items into a single arbitration dispute.
Okay.
The new rule doubles that limit to 50 line items. And it expands the criteria, allowing smaller practices to efficiently group similar claims across different patients.
So wait, I imagine that shifts the burden of conflict entirely.
How so?
Well, if you group 50 claims instead of 25, you aren't just saving administrative money. You are making it mathematically impossible for the insurer to ignore you.
It's a great point.
You turn a minor nuisance into a glaring priority for their accounting department.
What's fascinating here is why these bureaucratic tweaks actually matter.
Right.
It forces engagement. It removes the strategy of, gaming the system through calculated delays.
Which was happening constantly.
Constantly. And the underlying mechanism here is a new Federal IDR portal rolling out over a 24-month timeline.
Ah, the portal.
All communications must move to this portal. If a medical provider wants to initiate an open negotiation, they submit it through this digital system. And the receiving party now faces a strict 15-business-day timeline to formally respond on that exact same portal.
Wait, and if they just leave the provider on read, like in that toxic group chat?
Well, the portal acts as an unblinking automated referee.
Oh, wow.
It timestamps every single interaction. If a party ignores the notice, the negotiation is deemed to have not occurred, and the government can take direct enforcement action against the party that failed to respond.
That is huge. It removes the human element of, oh, we lost the paperwork or the email went to spam.
Exactly. Furthermore, the new rules mandate standardized adjustment codes by August 3, 2026.
These are the CRF and RSC codes, right?
Yes, specifically CR-ARC codes. They have to be placed on the initial claim remittances.
So instead of a hospital receiving some vague denial and having to spend weeks figuring out why it was rejected,
Right.
the standardized data code instantly flags whether or not the claim is eligible for federal arbitration.
Exactly. The code itself is the what, but the why is eliminating the gray area where insurers historically hid to delay payment.
I see.
It forces structured data at the very beginning of the conflict, and then it enforces a firm 30-day payment deadline after an arbitration decision is made at the end of the conflict.
So it creates a closed, highly regulated loop that punishes evasion.
Precisely.
Now, I mean, whenever the government steps in to regulate a multi-billion-dollar industry, the reactions are going to be polarized.
Well, without a doubt.
And looking at the stakeholder responses in the report, and just to be clear to you listening, we aren't taking sides here. We're just reporting what the sources say.
Right, maintaining full impartiality.
Right. So medical provider groups like the Medical Group Management Association, the MGMA, and the American Medical Association, they praise these reforms.
They loved them.
Yeah, they view the $15 fee and the standardized coding as a massive win for transparency that removes unfair barriers for local doctors.
But on the other side, the insurance lobby and employer coalitions, such as AAP and ERIC, view the final rule as a complete missed opportunity.
Interesting. Why missed?
Their argument requires looking at a shadow industry that has essentially sprung up around this legislation.
Okay.
They argue that making the arbitration system cheaper and faster doesn't actually curb unconscionable price gouging by certain providers.
Ah.
More importantly, they point out that arbitration vendors, these are third-party companies that handle these disputes on behalf of providers,
Right.
they often take a percentage cut of the winnings.
Oh, wait. Which incentivizes those vendors to artificially inflate out-of-network claims?
Exactly.
If they get a cut of the settlement, they want the initial dispute to be as high as possible.
Yep. So the insurers are arguing that a faster, cheaper system just allows these vendors to exploit the arbitration process at a massive scale, which, they argue, drives up healthcare costs for everyone.
That is wild. It represents the inherent tension of the policy perfectly.
It really does.
One side views the bureaucratic friction of the old system as an unfair barrier to justice for small practices.
Right.
And the other side views that exact same friction as a necessary guardrail against inflation and systemic abuse by aggressive vendors.
That's the core of their critique, yeah.
But, I mean, stepping back, the U.S. government is attempting to force fairness here by imposing strict digital portals and timers, right?
All backed by the safety net of the U.S. legal system.
Right, but a corporate billing dispute still relies on that domestic safety net.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you can't just mandate a digital portal and threaten legal action, because the parties involved are sovereign nations at war?
Yeah. How do you enforce a 15-day response time on a geopolitical crisis?
Exactly, which smoothly pivots us from this micro-resolution to the macro conflict.
Let's shift our focus to the UN General Assembly debate from June 1st, 2026.
So, global leaders gather to figure out why international mediation is faltering and how to systematically fix it.
Yes. And the academic review of this debate sets a really fascinating baseline using foundational research.
This is the Dixon 1996 study, right?
That's the one. Dixon 1996 proves mathematically that mediation is the most effective third-party tool for preventing escalation and settling international crises.
Even more than peacekeeping.
Way more. It is statistically more effective than simply sending in peacekeepers alone.
Which makes sense, because peacekeepers only freeze the symptom of the violence.
Right.
They hold the line. But mediation actually addresses the root cause of why the line was breached in the first place.
Exactly. And yet, the primary challenge identified at this UN debate is a phenomenon known as disaggregated mediation.
Disaggregated mediation.
Yeah, it's an incredibly fragmented landscape. You have local community leaders, national peace commissions, regional organizations like the African Union or ASEAN, and United Nations envoys.
And they're all attempting to mediate the exact same conflicts simultaneously.
Tripping all over each other.
Yeah, the research refers to this fragmentation as creating islands of stability.
I love that phrase.
It's so descriptive. Imagine a local mediator secures a ceasefire in a vital farming village, right?
Okay.
That is an island of stability. But because that local mediator isn't connected to the UN envoy handling the national borders, the broader national treaty ends up giving that exact village's water supply to a rival faction.
Oh, man.
And the local peace collapses instantly because the mediators just weren't talking to each other.
The islands never form a continent.
Exactly. That is the devastating danger of disaggregated mediation.
So at the UN General Assembly, specific national positions emerged to address this disconnect.
Who is leading that charge?
Countries like Timor-Leste and Pakistan pushed incredibly hard for sustained funding and a significantly stronger UN mediation architecture.
Okay.
They advocated for beefing up things like the UN mediation standby team,
Right.
arguing that you need a centralized, powerful body with dedicated resources to organize all this chaos and establish a unified hierarchy of mediation.
See, I have to push back on this proposed solution a bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
If conflicts are already hopelessly fragmented and there are already too many entities trying to mediate, doesn't creating a, multi-level coordination mechanism just add more bureaucracy?
A lot of people wonder that.
Like you connect local CSOs to national bodies, then to regional networks like ASEAN, then to the UN. Doesn't adding all those cooks to the kitchen make peace inherently slower?
It is a common fear when analyzing large multilateral institutions, for sure. But if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Okay.
the research points to a completely different root cause for the delays.
Really?
Yeah. The academic review cites Hellmuller's extensive research on the conflicts in Syria and Libya.
Oh, okay.
The problem isn't that there are too many cooks in one kitchen. The problem is that powerful states are setting up entirely separate kitchens.
Parallel peace processes.
Exactly. When UN talks stall, powerful external states run their own parallel mediation tracks to serve their own geopolitical interests.
Wow.
And these tracks directly compete with, and often undermine, the UN's efforts.
So the goal of a multi-level coordination mechanism is not to add bureaucracy to slow things down.
Not at all. It is to make sure everyone is cooking from the exact same recipe.
I see.
Without vertical integration, without connecting that local grassroots peace builder directly to the regional and international envoys, the local efforts are completely crushed by top-down international agendas.
That makes total sense. If the local mediator on the ground doesn't have a direct formal line to the international bodies, the big players will just negotiate a treaty in Geneva.
Right.
And it might look structurally sound on paper, but it has absolutely zero legitimacy to the people actually holding the weapons on the ground.
Exactly. But getting everyone on the same page within the same structure is only half the battle.
What's the other half?
The UN debate highlighted a second critical factor for lasting peace. It is the real secret weapon for conflict resolution.
Okay.
And remarkably, it operates on the exact same philosophy as dropping that medical billing administrative fee from $115 down to $15.
So what does this all mean? We are talking about the ultimate hack for resolution here.
Yes.
And it's all about access. It is about who is allowed in the room.
Radical inclusivity.
Radical inclusivity. Tell me about the math behind this, because the data from the UNGA debate is wild.
It really is. During the debate, the European Union and Germany heavily championed a specific data-backed approach.
Right.
The systematic inclusion of women in peace processes vastly increases the chance of lasting peace.
By how much?
The statistics show an increase of roughly 30% in the durability of the agreement.
30%. I mean, a 30% increase is not a minor statistical bump.
No, it's a massive structural advantage.
And the academic review backs this up, right? By citing Krauss 2018 and Stone 2014.
Exactly. Those studies show that peace agreements with female delegates feature far more political reform provisions.
Right.
And they have significantly better implementation rates on the ground. They're objectively better treaties.
Yet, despite this overwhelming mathematical proof, women remain a tiny minority of global peace negotiators.
Yeah, there is a profound disconnect between what the science of conflict resolution says works and how the politics of conflict resolution are actually practiced.
It's staggering.
And this connects back to the insider and community-based mediation championed by the EU.
Right.
They argued that governments must legally and financially mandate that women, youth, and minorities are physically at the negotiating table if they actually want the peace to hold.
Think of it like a load-bearing structural beam in a house.
Oh, I like that.
Historically, builders, the diplomats, have tried to build the house without it.
Yeah.
But the data proves the house collapses 30% faster when they do.
It's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You cannot build a durable structure while intentionally excluding the load-bearing elements of the society.
Exactly.
And this fundamentally ties our entire deep dive together today.
Yeah, let's connect the dots.
Look at the architecture of conflict resolution across these two drastically different spheres.
Right.
In the healthcare IDR system, inclusivity meant removing a massive financial barrier.
The $150 fee.
Exactly. It meant dropping it to $15 so that a small local medical practice could actually afford to participate in the arbitration process.
Instead of just being financially bulldozed by a massive corporate insurer.
Right. The power imbalance was so severe, they couldn't even afford to walk into the room.
And on the global stage, inclusivity means legally and structurally mandating that women and local community leaders aren't just consulted as an afterthought from a distance.
Right.
They have to be physically placed at the negotiating table.
In both micro and macro conflicts, systems fail when they are exclusive. They fail when only the most powerful, heavily resourced players are allowed to dictate the terms.
And they succeed when the barrier to entry is eliminated and the structural design forces the parties to engage fairly.
Exactly.
And this is why this applies directly to the systems you interact with daily.
Yes, to the listener.
Right. The minutia of a 2026 healthcare portal or a UN General Assembly debate matters because the science of conflict resolution scales perfectly.
It scales to everything.
It is the exact same underlying mechanism, whether you are equalizing a power imbalance during a salary negotiation with a massive corporate HR department,
Right.
or trying to navigate a dispute with a bureaucratic city council, or just analyzing international treaties on the evening news.
Lasting success requires two non-negotiable elements.
Lay them out for us.
First, you need clear, unforgiving rules of engagement.
Like the 15-day medical portal timer.
Exactly. The portal forces a strict timer and requires standardized data codes to prevent massive corporations from hiding in the gray areas. Your conflicts need similar boundaries. If there is no structure, the party with the most endurance, the most money, or the most structural power will simply delay the process until the other side gives up out of exhaustion.
Man, that is so true.
And second,
you have to ensure the most impacted voices are actually sitting at the table.
yes,
We have to remember that 30% peace durability metric.
that's vital.
If the people who have to live with the consequences of the resolution aren't included in the process of drafting it, the resolution will simply not survive contact with reality.
It demands a complete rewiring of how we perceive authority and access.
It really does.
And looking at the trajectory of these 2026 reforms, it leaves us with a rather profound question to consider regarding the future of diplomacy.
Yeah, let's leave you with a final thought to mull over.
We are seeing the U.S. government use highly structured, anonymized digital portals and strict response timers to force hostile, massive corporate entities in healthcare to act reasonably.
It removes the posturing, it removes the emotional war of attrition.
And just looks at the data codes and the timestamps.
Yeah.
It forces these massive entities to play by a math-based set of rules.
So could we ever see a future where international diplomatic disputes are required to go through a similarly blind, data-driven arbitration portal before a single shot is ever fired?
That is the question.
What if the future of world peace looks less like powerful diplomats arguing around a mahogany table in Geneva,
Right.
and more like a highly regulated, strictly timed digital dashboard?
It completely removes the theater of conflict.
It really does. It removes the parallel geopolitical kitchens and just leaves the bare mechanics of resolution.
Something to mull over the next time you find yourself stuck in a dispute where the rules seem stacked against you.
Keep questioning the architecture of the world around you. We'll see you next time.